The morning after Marcus left, Nena woke to find Liho's side of the bed cold and empty. She found him standing at the floor-to-ceiling windows of his suite, fully dressed in black, staring out at Seoul as the city began to wake. His shoulders were rigid with tension, his hands clenched at his sides, and even from across the room she could feel the weight of whatever he'd discovered crushing down on him. Liho. He didn't turn around. His reflection in the glass looked like a ghost, pale and haunted. I know who he is. Nena crossed the room, her bare feet silent on the cold marble floor. She wrapped her arms around herself, suddenly feeling exposed in just his shirt. Who? The suited man, the one who was with Marcus yesterday. Liho's voice was hollow, scraped raw. I had my people working all night, digging through old files, making calls to contacts I haven't spoken to in years, pulling every favor I had left, and they found him. He finally turned to face her, and the look in his eyes made her blood run cold. His name is Yi-Sung Park, and his father worked for me. Nena's throat tightened. She knew where this was going, could see the guilt already eating him alive. Worked for you. His father was my second in command, my right hand, the man I trusted more than anyone else in this world. Liho's jaw clenched so hard she could see the muscle jumping. We grew up together on the streets. We built this organization from nothing. He was my brother in every way that mattered, and then he betrayed me. The pieces started falling into place in Nena's mind, sharp and cutting. He was the one who set up the ambush, the one who got Yuna killed. Yes, the word came out like broken glass. He made a deal with the Yakuza, sold out our entire operation for money, for 30 pieces of silver, just like Judas. The ambush was supposed to take me out, eliminate the competition, and he'd walk away rich and untouchable. Liho's hands were shaking now. But Yuna was in the next room. She heard them coming. She tried to warn me, and they shot her for it, 3 times, center mass. She died in my arms, while my best friend's betrayal bled her dry. Nena grabbed his hands, stilling their trembling. And you killed him for it. 3 days after I buried Yuna, I put a bullet in his head. Liho's eyes were dark and empty. I made him watch a video of his son first. Yi-Sung was 17 years old, playing basketball in their driveway, completely unaware his father was about to die. I wanted him to know what he was losing, what his greed had cost him. Then I pulled the trigger. Oh God, Liho. Yi-Sung was 17 when I made him an orphan. Liho pulled away from her, packing like a caged animal. And now, 12 years later, he's come for his revenge. He's spent over a decade building power, making alliances, waiting for the perfect moment to destroy me. And I handed it to him on a silver platter. You. He's going to use you to break me the same way his father broke me with Yuna. Before Nena could respond, the door to the suite burst open so hard it slammed against the wall. Mrs. Choi, her supervisor, stumbled in. Her face was deathly pale. Mascara streaked down her cheeks in thick black rivers, and her hands were shaking so violently she could barely stand. 2 of Liho's guards tried to grab her, but Liho held up his hand. Let her speak. Mrs. Choi collapsed to her knees in the middle of the suite, sobbing so hard her whole body convulsed. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. God forgive me, I'm so sorry. I didn't know it would go this far. I didn't know he would actually try to kill her. I thought. Her words dissolved into incoherent crying. Liho's voice cut through her sobs like ice. What did you do, Mrs. Choi? It was me. She looked up, tears streaming down her face, snot running from her nose. She looked destroyed, broken. I'm the one who tampered with your door that first night. I'm the one who made sure Miss Kim walked into your room when you were vulnerable. I'm the one who's been feeding information to Yi-Sung for the past 6 months. Every meeting, every schedule change, every security detail, all of it. It was all me. Nena felt like she'd been punched in the stomach. The room tilted, her vision blurring at the edges. Why? Why would you do that to me? I never did anything to you. Mrs. Choi's face crumpled. Not to you, never to you, to him. She pointed at Liho with a shaking hand. My daughter, her name was Park Min-jae. She was 23 years old, studying to be a doctor at Seoul National University. She was brilliant, beautiful, kind. She volunteered at children's hospitals. She wanted to save lives. Her voice broke. 11 years ago, she worked part-time at a nightclub Mr. Kang owned, just to pay for medical school. She was working the coat check. Just the coat check. She wasn't involved in anything illegal, didn't even know what the club really was. Liho's face had gone completely white. The Valentine's Day massacre. Yes, Mrs. Choi's hands clenched into fists. A rival gang attacked during a Valentine's party. They came in shooting. My Minjai was in the wrong place at the wrong time. She took 3 bullets. I got to the hospital just in time to hold her hand while she died. Her voice dropped to a broken whisper. She was scared. So scared. She kept asking me why this was happening. Why someone would shoot her when all she did was hand out coats and smile at customers, and I had no answer. Because there was no reason. She died for nothing. Collateral damage in a war she didn't even know existed. I remember her. Liho's voice was barely audible. I came to the hospital. I held her other hand. I told her she was going to be okay. You lied to her. Mrs. Choi's hatred burned through her tears. You lied to my baby girl in her final moments. You promised her she'd be fine, and then she died anyway. Do you know what that's like? To watch your child die, to feel their hand go cold in yours, to hear their last breath rattle out and know you'll never hear their voice again. I'm sorry, Liho's voice cracked. I'm so sorry. I tried to protect her. I had her rushed to the best hospital, paid for everything, but it wasn't enough, Mrs. Choi screamed. Your money couldn't save her. Your power couldn't bring her back. For 11 years, I've lived with this hole in my chest where my daughter used to be. Every morning, I wake up and remember she's gone. Every night, I cry myself to sleep looking at her pictures. I blamed you. I hated you with every fiber of my being. So when Yi-sung approached me 6 months ago, when he told me he wanted to make you suffer the way I've suffered, I said yes without hesitation. Nena found her voice, though it shook. So you used me. You set me up to die just to hurt him. I thought if he fell for you, if he let himself care about someone again, losing you would destroy him. Mrs. Choi looked at Nena with guilt and shame flooding her face. I watched you together over these weeks. I saw how he looked at you, how you looked at him, how he changed around you, became softer, more human, and I realized what I'd become. She buried her face in her hands. I became the same monster that took my Minjai from me. I became someone willing to destroy an innocent person to satisfy my own pain. I'm no better than the men who killed my daughter. Liho pulled his gun and pressed it against Mrs. Choi's forehead. His hand was perfectly steady, his face carved from stone. Give me one reason why I shouldn't kill you right now. One reason why I shouldn't put a bullet in your skull for what you've done. Mrs. Choi looked up at him, tears still streaming, but her voice was calm. I don't have one. I deserve to die. I betrayed an innocent woman. I helped a man who wants to kill you both. There's no excuse, no justification that makes what I did okay. She closed her eyes. But before you pull that trigger, let me tell you what Yi-sung is planning. Let me at least save the life I tried to destroy. It's the least I can do. The only thing I can do. Liho didn't lower the gun. The barrel pressed harder against her skin, leaving a circular indent. Talk! You have 30 seconds. Yi-sung has been building his power for over a decade. He's made alliances with every organization that wants you dead. The Russians, the Chinese triads, the Yakuza, even some of your own former associates who resent your control. Mrs. Choi spoke quickly, her words tumbling over each other. He has files, documents, financial records showing every transaction you've ever made, names of everyone in your organization, evidence linking you to corrupt politicians, police officers, judges. If he releases that information, you don't just lose your empire. You go to prison for life. Everyone connected to you goes down. Your men, their families, everyone. Nena's heart was pounding. There has to be a way to stop him. There is, tomorrow night, midnight, Pier 17 in the warehouse district. Mrs. Choi opened her eyes, looking directly at Liho. He's arranged a meeting. He says if you come and surrender everything, your organization, your assets, all your leverage, he'll let everyone else walk away free, including Miss Kim. He'll destroy the files and disappear. It's a trap, Nena said immediately. He's going to kill you the moment you show up. Of course it's a trap. Liho finally lowered the gun. But it's also the only card we have left to play. He looked at Mrs. Choi with an expression Nena couldn't read. Understanding, disgust, pity, maybe all three. Your daughter's death wasn't your fault, and honestly, it wasn't entirely mine either. It was the life I chose, the world I built. A world where innocent people die because men like me can't let go of power and control. He holstered his gun. Min Jai wouldn't want you to become what I am. A killer consumed by revenge and hate. Mrs. Choi stared at him in shock. You're not going to kill me. You're going to leave Seoul tonight. My men will escort you to the airport. You'll get on a plane to wherever you want to go, somewhere far from here, and you'll never come back. You'll live the rest of your life trying to be the woman your daughter would be proud of. That's your punishment and your mercy. Take it. Why? Mrs. Choi's voice broke. Why would you show me mercy after what I've done? Liho looked at Nena, and something softened in his eyes. Because she taught me that breaking the cycle of revenge matters more than satisfying it. Because killing you won't bring Minjai back, just like killing your conspirators won't bring Yuna back. The only thing that stops the bleeding is choosing to let it end. Two guards appeared and gently helped Mrs. Choi to her feet. As they escorted her toward the door, she turned back one last time. I'm sorry, to both of you. I'm truly sorry. I hope you survive what's coming. I hope you get the life together that my Minjai never got to have. Then she was gone. When the door closed, Nena grabbed Liho's arm. What are you planning? I'm going to that meeting. Absolutely not. Are you insane? Nena. No, her voice was fierce, almost angry. You walk into that warehouse alone, you're dead. We both know it. Yi-sung doesn't want your surrender. He wants your blood. He wants to watch you die slowly and painfully. If I don't go, he releases those files. Liho's voice was strained. Everyone I've ever worked with gets arrested. Good people, people with families, people who were just trying to survive in a world that gave them no other options. Men who stood by me when I had nothing. Women who risked everything to help build this organization. I can't let them all burn because of me. So what, you sacrifice yourself? You think that's what I want? Nena's eyes filled with tears. I didn't fall in love with you just to watch you walk to your death like some tragic hero. Liho cupped her face in both hands, his thumbs wiping away her tears. I've been dead for 12 years. You brought me back to life. You made me feel again, made me want to be better. And if dying means keeping you safe, means keeping you alive and free, then I'll do it gladly. I'll do it knowing that loving you was worth everything. That's not love, Liho. That's guilt. The words came out harsh, cutting. You're still trying to save Yuna. You're still trying to make up for not being able to protect her. But I'm not her. I'm not some fragile thing that needs you to die for her. The words hit him like a physical blow. He stepped back, his face cracking with pain and recognition. Maybe you're right. Maybe I am still trying to save her. Maybe I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make up for that failure. But this time, his voice broke, this time I might actually succeed. Because you're stronger than she was, smarter. You'll survive without me. I don't want to survive without you, you idiot. Nena grabbed his shirt, pulling him close, getting right in his face. I want to live with you. I want to build a life with you. I want to wake up next to you when we're old and gray and argue about stupid things like what to have for breakfast. So stop planning your noble sacrifice and start planning how we win this together. Because I'm not letting you go alone, and I'm not letting you die. Liho stared at her for a long moment. She could see the war happening behind his eyes, the guilt and the fear, and the desperate need to protect her battling against the growing realization that she was right. That martyrdom wasn't the answer. That love meant fighting together, not dying alone. Then something shifted in his expression. The guilt and pain receded, replaced by the sharp, calculating look of the man who'd built an empire from nothing. The strategist, the survivor. Together. Together. He kissed her hard, desperately, like he was trying to pour every emotion he couldn't say into that single point of contact. When they broke apart, both of them were breathing hard, foreheads pressed together. Okay, together, but you have to promise me something. If things go sideways, if it looks like we're not going to make it out, you run. You don't try to save me. You just run and you never look back. I promise. Nena was lying, and they both knew it, but Liho let it slide. They spent the rest of that day preparing with military precision. Liho laid out detailed maps of the warehouse district across his dining table, marking every entrance, every exit, every vantage point, every place where his men could hide. He gave Nena a gun, smaller and lighter than his, but just as deadly, and made her practice loading and unloading until her hands moved on pure muscle memory. "You're not going to fight," he said firmly, watching her practice her grip. "But if someone grabs you, if you get separated from me, you need to be able to protect yourself." He taught her hand signals. One finger raised meant danger. 2 fingers meant retreat. A closed fist meant attack. He showed her pressure points on the human body, places where even a small woman could cause serious pain to a larger opponent. How to break a grip by twisting toward the thumb. How to use her smaller size and lower center of gravity as an advantage. How to go for the eyes, the throat, the groin without hesitation. "Don't fight fair," he said, adjusting her stance. "Fair fights are for people who have the luxury of losing. You fight dirty. You fight to survive. You do whatever it takes to get back to me." As the sun set and darkness fell over Seoul, the tension in the suite became almost unbearable. Neither of them could eat. Neither of them could sit still. They moved around each other like planets in orbit, always aware of where the other was, drawn together and pushed apart by gravity and fear. Around 10 p.m., Liho found Nena standing at the window, staring out at the city lights. He came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist, pulling her back against his chest. "What are you thinking about?" "Everything, nothing." She leaned into him, savoring his warmth. "I'm thinking about how much my life has changed in just a few weeks. How I went from being a broke, desperate housemaid who couldn't afford to eat to being here with you, preparing to fight for our lives against a man who wants us dead." "Do you regret it, any of it?" "Not for a second." She turned in his arms to face him. "Even if tomorrow goes wrong, even if this is all the time we get, I don't regret it. You saved me, Liho. Not just from starving or from being alone in a foreign country. You saved me from myself, from my shame and my past and my belief that I didn't deserve good things." His arms tightened around her. "You saved me first. I was a ghost haunting my own life, just going through the motions, waiting to die. And then you stumbled into my room with your big eyes and your pride and your stubborn refusal to give up, and you woke me up. You made me want to live again." They made love that night slowly, tenderly, like they were trying to memorize every touch, every sound, every sensation. Afterwards, tangled together in sheets that smelled like them both, Liho whispered against her hair, "I need to tell you something, in case tomorrow goes wrong." "Don't talk like that." "Listen to me." His arms tightened, holding her closer. "There's a safe deposit box at Seoul National Bank, box number 1847. Inside is everything you'll need to disappear if something happens to me. Money, lots of it. New identity papers with 3 different names. Contacts in other countries who owe me favors and will help you without asking questions. The key is taped under the nightstand in your suite. If I don't make it out of that warehouse, you take that box and you run. You get on the first plane out of Korea, and you never look back." Nena's eyes burned with tears she refused to let fall. "I'm not leaving you. Promise me anyway, please. I need to know you'll be safe." "I promise." The lie tasted like ash, bitter and wrong. "If something happens to you, I'll take the box. I'll disappear. I'll live." She hated herself for the deception, but she could feel how much he needed to hear it. He pulled her impossibly closer, burying his face in her hair, breathing her in. "I love you. I need you to know that. Whatever happens tomorrow, in that warehouse or after, I love you more than I've ever loved anyone, more than I thought I was capable of loving." "I love you too." Nena kissed him, tasting salt from tears she didn't remember crying. "We're going to be okay. We're going to win. We're going to walk out of there together and build the life we deserve." "We're going to win," he repeated, but his voice lacked conviction. Neither of them slept that night. They lay tangled together, watching the city lights slowly dim as Seoul drifted toward morning, each lost in their own thoughts, their own fears, their own desperate prayers to gods they weren't sure were listening. The next day crawled by with agonizing slowness. Every minute felt like an hour. Every hour felt like a day. Liho made calls, giving quiet instructions to his men, repositioning assets, setting up contingencies. Nena tried to eat but couldn't keep anything down. Her hands shook every time she thought about what was coming. At 11 p.m., Liho's men arrived. 8 of them all dressed in black, all armed with enough firepower to start a small war. Jinwoo, Liho's most trusted lieutenant, gave Nena a small nod of respect. These men would die for Liho. She could see it in their eyes. The question was whether they'd have to. They drove to the warehouse district in 4 separate cars, approaching from different directions to avoid detection. The city changed as they got closer to the waterfront. The gleaming skyscrapers and luxury apartments gave way to industrial decay. Rusted cranes loomed like skeletal giants. Abandoned factories stared at them with broken windows like empty eyes. The smell of salt water and industrial chemicals filled the air. Pier 17 was a decaying skeleton of Seoul's industrial past. A massive warehouse that had once processed shipping containers now stood empty and forgotten. Rusted metal, shattered windows, concrete stained with years of rain and neglect, the perfect place for violence. Liho's men fanned out into the shadows like ghosts, taking positions with clear sightlines to the warehouse entrance. Jinwoo handed Liho an earpiece. "We've got you covered, boss. Anything goes wrong, we move in." Liho nodded, then checked his weapons one final time. 2 guns, 3 knives, and the cold determination of a man with everything to lose. He looked at Nena, really looked at her, memorizing her face like it was the last time he'd see it. "You stay behind me. You don't move unless I signal. If shooting starts, you run straight back to the car and Jinwoo will get you out. No arguments, no heroics, you just run." "No arguments, no heroics." Nena nodded, another lie stacking on top of all the others. They walked into the warehouse together, their footsteps echoing off concrete and metal. The space was massive, 3 stories of empty darkness broken only by a single hanging work light in the center. The light created a circle of illumination in an ocean of shadows, theatrical and ominous. Standing in that circle of light was Yi-sung. He looked different than he had at the hotel. Younger somehow, almost vulnerable, despite the dozen armed men flanking him like a small army. And beside him, looking smug and terrified in equal measure, stood Marcus. Her ex-fiancé had bruises on his face that hadn't been there before. Yi-sung's hospitality clearly had limits. "Liho Kang." Yi-sung's voice echoed through the cavernous space, bouncing off walls and rafters. "The man who killed my father. Thank you for coming. I half expected you to run." "Let's skip the speeches and the posturing." Liho's voice was cold, controlled, carrying none of the fear Nena knew he felt. "What do you want?" "What do I want?" Yi-sung laughed, but there was no humor in it, only bitterness and pain. "I want you to understand what you took from me. I want you to feel it in your bones. I was 17 years old when you murdered my father. 17, still in high school, still believed the world was basically good. Do you know what that's like? To come home from basketball practice and find police at your door, to be told your father is dead. To learn that he didn't just die, that he was executed, murdered, shot in the head while he begged for his life." "Your father didn't beg." Liho's voice was flat, emotionless. "He died silent, I'll give him that much." Yi-sung's face twisted with rage. "You took everything from me. My father, my family's honor, my mother's will to live. She killed herself 6 months after he died. Couldn't handle the shame and the grief. I came home from school and found her in the bathtub with her wrists slit. I was 18 years old and an orphan because of you." For the first time, something flickered across Liho's face. Not quite guilt, but close. "I didn't know about your mother, I'm sorry." "You're sorry?" Yi-sung's voice rose to a shout. "You're sorry. Your sorrow doesn't bring them back. It doesn't give me back the life I could have had, the family I lost, the childhood that ended the day you pulled that trigger. Your father betrayed me." Liho's voice didn't waver, but Nena could hear the strain underneath. "He sold me out to the Yakuza. He set up the ambush that killed Yuna and 23 other people. He chose his greed over loyalty, over friendship, over innocent lives. He made his choice." "That's your story." Yi-sung's eyes blazed with hatred so pure it was almost beautiful in its intensity. "But I have a different one. My father tried to get out. He wanted to leave your organization, to go legitimate, to give me and my mother a normal life. We were going to move to Busan. He'd saved enough money for a small business, and you wouldn't let him. You told him nobody leaves, nobody walks away. So he made a deal with your enemies to buy our freedom, and you killed him for wanting to be free." Liho was silent for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was quiet, almost sad. Is that what he told you? It's the truth. Then your father lied to you. Liho took a step forward, and immediately 6 guns trained on him. He stopped but didn't retreat. I never stopped anyone from leaving. Half my original crew went legitimate over the years, and I wish them well. I gave your father a choice, stay or go. He chose to stay. And then he chose to betray everyone who trusted him. 23 people died in that ambush, Yi-sung. 23, not just Yuna. Bodyguards, servers, a coat check girl who was just trying to pay for medical school. People with families, people with dreams. Your father's greed killed them all. You're lying, but Yi-sung's voice wavered slightly. I have proof, phone records, bank transfers, messages between your father and the Yakuza lieutenant arranging the whole thing. Liho pulled out his phone and tossed it across the space between them. It skidded across the concrete, stopping at Yi-sung's feet. It's all there, read it, see what kind of man your father really was. Yi-sung stared at the phone like it was a live grenade. Slowly, hands shaking, he picked it up. He scrolled through documents, his face growing paler with each passing second. Nena could see the exact moment his world shattered. His hands started trembling. His jaw went slack. His eyes filled with tears. No, this can't be, he wouldn't. Your father wasn't a hero trying to escape. Liho's voice was merciless, cutting through every illusion, every comfortable lie. He was a traitor who sold out his family for money. $7 million, that was the price. And when the deal went wrong, when the Yakuza decided to keep the money and kill everyone anyway, he died knowing what he'd done, knowing his greed had murdered innocent people. Yi-sung threw the phone down, and it shattered against the concrete with a sound like breaking bones. It doesn't matter. His voice cracked, raw with pain and fury. It doesn't change anything. Maybe my father was everything you say. Maybe he was a monster, but you still took him from me. You still destroyed my family. And now I'm going to take everything from you. He nodded to his men, and they raised their weapons. 12 guns, all pointed at Liho and Nena. That's when Marcus made his move. He lunged forward with surprising speed, grabbing the tablet computer from Yi-sung's hand. You're all insane, he shouted, backing toward a side exit. You're fighting over revenge and honor and all this macho bullshit, and you're missing the point. He held up the tablet, grinning like he just won the lottery. This information isn't just valuable to the police. It's valuable to everyone. How much is your freedom worth, Kang? Because I'm thinking I can auction this data to your competitors for millions. Maybe tens of millions. Yi-sung's face went dark, storm clouds gathering. What are you doing? Making a profit, obviously. You wanted revenge. I want money. We're not the same, buddy. Never were. Marcus was almost to the exit now, still backing away, still grinning. Thanks for the payday, though. This was almost worth dealing with your brooding psychopath routine. Yi-sung pulled out a gun and shot Marcus 3 times. Center mass. Professional. Efficient. Marcus's grin froze on his face. He looked down at the blood blooming across his chest like he couldn't quite believe it. Then his legs gave out and he dropped like a puppet with cut strings. The tablet clattered across the floor, skidding away into the shadows. Nobody betrays me, Yi-sung said coldly, still pointing the gun at Marcus's corpse. Nobody. Then he looked at Liho, and his expression was pure murder. Your move. Everything exploded at once. Gunfire erupted from every direction. Muzzle flashes lit up the darkness like lightning. Liho grabbed Nena and pulled her behind a concrete pillar as bullets tore through the air where they'd been standing, close enough that she felt the wind of their passage. His men emerged from the shadows like avenging spirits, returning fire with deadly precision. The warehouse became a war zone. The sound was deafening, overwhelming, a constant roar of gunshots and ricochets and shouted orders. Spent shell casings rained down like metal hail, bouncing off concrete with tinny clinks. The smell of gunpowder filled the air, acrid and choking. Liho moved like liquid death, every motion economical and precise. He fired, and one of Yi-sung's men dropped. Fired again, another dropped. His face was completely calm, almost serene, like this was meditation. But Nena could see his eyes constantly moving, tracking threats, calculating angles, keeping her in his peripheral vision always. Two of Yi Sung's men tried to flank them. Liho saw them coming, spun, put bullets in both their kneecaps. They went down screaming. He didn't kill them, didn't need to. Wounded men slowed down their allies. But there were too many of them. For every man Liho dropped, another took his place. They kept coming, wave after wave, and his ammunition wouldn't last forever. Nena stayed behind the pillar, her heart hammering so hard she thought her ribs might crack. She could hear Liho's voice through the chaos, calm and controlled, directing his men like a conductor leading an orchestra of violence. She could smell gunpowder and blood and her own fierce sweat. Then she saw it. The tablet Marcus had dropped. It was lying in the open about 10 feet away, still illuminated by that single hanging work light. And Yi Sung was moving toward it, using his men as cover, getting closer with each passing second. If he got that tablet, if he uploaded those files to the cloud, everything Liho had built would burn. Everyone he'd ever worked with would go to prison. Nena didn't think, didn't plan, didn't hesitate. She broke from cover and sprinted toward the tablet, her feet flying across the concrete. She heard Liho shout her name, heard the absolute terror in his voice, but she didn't stop. She couldn't stop. She grabbed the tablet just as Yi Sung's hand reached for it. His fingers closed around her wrist like a steel trap. "Stupid girl." He yanked her up, spinning her around, pressing a gun to her temple so hard it hurt. "Everybody stop! Stop shooting or I blow her brains out right now." The gunfire ceased instantly, like someone had thrown a switch. The warehouse fell silent except for the ringing in Nena's ears and the sound of her own panicked breathing. Yi Sung dragged her backward, using her as a human shield, the gun pressed against her head hard enough to bruise. She could see Liho frozen in place, his own gun pointed at them but useless. She could see the absolute terror on his face, see him age 10 years in 10 seconds. See the exact moment his worst nightmare came to life. "Drop your weapons," Yi Sung commanded, his voice echoing through the warehouse. "All of you, drop them now or she dies. I'll do it. I swear to God I'll paint these walls with her." Liho's men hesitated, looking to their boss for orders. Liho's eyes locked on Nena's. She saw him calculating, weighing options, running through scenarios. Saw him trying to find a way out that didn't end with her dead. Saw the exact moment he realized there wasn't one. "Do it." His gun clattered to the floor, the sound impossibly loud in the silence. "Drop your weapons." His men followed suit, guns hitting concrete all around the warehouse. "Good boy." Yi Sung's grip on Nena tightened painfully. "Now you know what it feels like, to be helpless, to watch someone you love about to die and know there's nothing you can do to stop it. This is what you did to me, Kang, this exact feeling, and now you get to live with it forever." "Please." Liho's voice cracked, and Nena had never heard him sound like that before. Broken, desperate, human. "She has nothing to do with this. She's innocent. Let her go. You want revenge, take it. Kill me. I'll get on my knees right now and you can put a bullet in my head. But let her go first, please, I'm begging you." "Why should I?" Yi Sung laughed, a sound like shattering glass. "Why should I show mercy when you showed none to my father, when you showed none to my mother, when you took everything from me and never looked back? Because she taught me to be better." Liho took a step forward, hands raised, completely vulnerable. "Because killing her won't bring your parents back. It won't heal your pain. It'll just create more of it. More grief, more guilt, more emptiness. I know, I've lived it. Don't become what I was. Don't let your father's mistakes define who you are." For just a moment, just a heartbeat, Nena felt Yi Sung's grip loosen slightly. Felt the gun drop a fraction of an inch from her temple. Saw something flicker across his face that might have been doubt or might have been recognition. But then his face hardened like concrete setting. "No, you need to feel what I felt. You need to know what it's like to lose everything." Nena didn't wait. She drove her elbow backward into Yi Sung's ribs as hard as she could, exactly the way Liho had taught her, putting her whole body weight behind it. The impact sent shock waves up her arm, but she felt something give. Felt Yi Sung gasp and stumble. She twisted, bringing her knee up into his groin with all her strength. He made a sound like a dying animal. His grip faltered. Nena ripped free, tearing skin from her wrist but not caring, not feeling it. She ran, not away from the danger, toward Liho, toward safety, toward home. Yi-sung raised his gun, his face twisted with rage and pain, and fired. The bullet caught Nena in the left shoulder, spinning her around. She felt the impact before the pain, felt herself falling, the concrete rushing up to meet her. She hit hard, the tablet skidding away into darkness. Then the pain arrived, a white-hot explosion that made everything else disappear. She couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't do anything but feel the burning agony radiating from her shoulder down her arm and across her chest. Through blurring vision, she saw Liho's face transform into something inhuman, something primal and terrifying. He moved faster than should have been possible, closing the distance to Yi-sung in maybe 3 strides. The first punch shattered Yi-sung's jaw with a crack like breaking wood. The second caved in ribs. Liho disarmed him with brutal efficiency, throwing the gun away, and drove Yi-sung to the ground so hard his head bounced off concrete. Liho's hands wrapped around Yi-sung's throat and squeezed. "You made a mistake," Liho said, his voice dead calm, emotionless, worse than any shout. "You made me choose between revenge and mercy." His hands tightened. Yi-sung's face turned purple, his eyes bulging, his hands clawing uselessly at Liho's iron grip. Liho's men stood watching, weapons ready, waiting to see if their boss would finally cross the line he'd been walking for 12 years. Liho's thumbs found Yi-sung's windpipe. One more second of pressure, and it would be over. One more second, and Yi-sung would join his parents, and the cycle would continue, revenge breeding, revenge, until everyone was dead and nothing was left but ashes. Then Liho looked at Nena. She was lying on the concrete, bleeding, her face pale with pain and shock. But her eyes were locked on his. And in those eyes, through the agony, he saw something that made him stop. Not fear, not judgment, just love. Pure, unconditional love that believed he could be better than his worst impulses. That believed he was more than just violence and death. That saw the man he could become if he just chose mercy over revenge. Liho released Yi-sung's throat. The young man gasped for air, coughing and retching, his hands going to his bruised neck. Liho stood, pulled out his phone, and made a call. When he spoke, his voice was eerily calm, like he was ordering takeout instead of arranging an arrest. "It's done, send them in. Pier 17, yes, everything's ready." Within seconds, the warehouse flooded with police. Dozens of them, heavily armed, pouring in through every entrance like a SWAT team raid. They surrounded Yi-sung and his men, weapons drawn, shouting commands to get on the ground, hands behind heads, don't move. Liho had called them. He'd orchestrated this entire thing. The meeting, the confrontation, all of it had been a setup to get Yi-sung and his evidence in one place where the police could take them down cleanly. Detective Park appeared, a woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and an expression that had seen too much and believed too little. She approached Liho, stepping over bodies and shell casings. "You kept your word, the evidence." Liho handed her a USB drive. "Everything you need to put Yi-sung away for 30 years minimum. Trafficking, money laundering, conspiracy to commit murder, weapons charges. All clean, all admissible in court, all traced back to him with no connection to me or my people. And the other matter, the files on you. The files on me and my associates are encrypted with a password only I know. Yi-sung never had access. The tablet is damaged now anyway." Liho gestured to where the tablet lay in pieces. "Without the password, the data's useless, and I'm deleting the only copy tonight." Detective Park's eyes narrowed. "We had a deal." "And I'm honoring it. 3 months. That's how long you're giving me to dissolve my organization completely. To make sure everyone under my protection has legitimate jobs waiting, that no one gets left vulnerable when I walk away. After that, I'm just another citizen. No protection, no immunity, no special treatment. That was the deal." The detective studied him for a long moment, then nodded. 3 months, not a day more. After that, if I find out you're still operating, deal's off and you go down with everyone else." "Understood." She gestured to her officers, and they began arresting Yi Sung and his men, reading rights, applying handcuffs, loading them into transport vans. As they dragged Yi Sung past Liho, the young man looked up with pure hatred still burning in his eyes despite the defeat. This isn't over. I'll get out eventually, and when I do... Yes, it is over. Liho's voice was final, absolute. Your father's choices destroyed him. Don't let them destroy you too. Use your time in prison to become something better than what he was. That's the only revenge worth having. Then Liho was at Nena's side, dropping to his knees, his hands shaking as he pressed them against her bleeding shoulder. Stay with me. Don't you dare leave me. Nena, please stay with me. I'm okay, she gasped through the pain, though okay was a generous description. It's just my shoulder, I'm okay. You're not okay, you're bleeding. You ran toward gunfire. You grabbed that tablet when you should have stayed safe. You beautiful, stupid, impossibly brave woman. Tears streamed down his face, and she'd never seen him cry before. You could have died. You could have. God, Nena, I almost lost you. So could you. She managed a weak smile despite everything. Guess we're even now. If you believe love is worth fighting for, if you believe two broken people can save each other, then hit that like button right now. Because what comes next will show you that sometimes the greatest strength isn't in revenge, but in choosing mercy when you have every right to choose violence. Paramedics arrived, their efficient hands taking over from Liho's shaking ones. They loaded Nena onto a stretcher, starting an IV, applying pressure bandages, calling out vital signs in medical shorthand. Liho climbed into the ambulance with her, refusing to let go of her hand even when the paramedics told him he was in the way. As they rushed through Seoul's night streets, sirens wailing, lights painting the world in alternating red and blue, Nena looked up at him through the haze of pain and whatever drugs they'd given her. You let him live. You taught me mercy. Liho pressed her hand against his wet cheek. You taught me that breaking the cycle matters more than satisfying revenge, that being better than my worst impulses is the only way to actually win. I'm proud of you, she whispered, her voice fatting as the medication pulled her under. You're better than you think you are, so much better. Don't talk, save your strength. I'm proud of you, she repeated, and then the darkness took her and she knew nothing else. The surgery took 6 hours. 6 hours of Liho packing the waiting room like a caged animal, his clothes still covered in her blood, his hands shaking every time he tried to hold them still. Jinwoo and the other men waited with him, silent and supportive, bringing coffee he didn't drink and food he couldn't eat. The bullet had missed her heart and lungs, but had shattered her shoulder blade into fragments. The surgeons had to piece it back together like a jigsaw puzzle, inserting pins and plates to hold everything in place. They said she was lucky. An inch to the right, and the bullet would have severed her brachial artery. She would have bled out in the warehouse before the ambulance even arrived. When they finally let him see her, Nena was pale and groggy but alive. Her shoulder was bandaged in so many layers she looked like she was wearing armor. Her arm was in a sling. She had an IV in her good hand and monitors beeping steadily, tracking her heartbeat, her oxygen, her return to the world of the living. She smiled when she saw him. Hey. Hey yourself. He sat beside her bed, taking her good hand in both of his like it was something precious and fragile. How do you feel? Like I got shot. She laughed weakly, then winced. Ow, don't make me laugh. Everything hurts when I laugh. I'm sorry. God, Nena, I'm so sorry. This is all my fault. If I hadn't brought you into my world, if I'd just let you go that first night, if I'd been stronger. Stop, she squeezed his hand, cutting him off. I chose this. I chose you. I'd make the same choice 1,000 times over, even knowing it would end with me getting shot. Because these last few weeks with you have been worth everything. You gave me a reason to live again. You gave me hope. Liho pressed his forehead against their joined hands, his tears soaking her skin. I don't deserve you. Probably not, but you're stuck with me anyway. I'm very annoying that way. He laughed through his tears, a sound like breaking and healing at the same time. I love you. I love you so much it terrifies me. I love you too. Now kiss me before I fall back asleep from all these drugs. He did, careful and gentle, mindful of her injuries and the tubes and wires connecting her to machines. When they broke apart, both of them were crying and smiling and completely exhausted. Over the next 4 weeks, Nena healed slowly in that private hospital room. Liho never left her side except when his men absolutely needed direction. He was in the process of dismantling his entire organization, carefully and methodically, making sure everyone under his protection had legitimate jobs waiting, that no one would be left vulnerable when he walked away from the life that had defined him for so long. He spent his days on the phone arranging futures for people who'd once killed for him. His evenings were spent with Nena, talking about everything and nothing, planning the life they'd build together, dreaming of a future neither of them had thought possible. It was during one of these quiet afternoons, sunlight streaming through the hospital windows and painting everything gold, that Liho told her his plan. "I'm buying the Imperial Palace Hotel." Nena blinked, sure she'd heard wrong. "What?" "The hotel where we met, where Yuna died all those years ago, where everything in my life changed." He sat on the edge of her bed, careful not to jostle her shoulder. "I'm buying it, and I'm transforming it completely. The 18th floor, where you first walked into my room, is going to become luxury apartments for women fleeing domestic violence, trafficking survivors, anyone who needs a fresh start and a safe place to rebuild their lives." Tears filled Nena's eyes. "Lee, the basement levels will house a crisis center. We'll provide job training, legal assistance, counseling, medical care. Everything I wish had existed for all the people who got hurt in my world. Everything I wish could have saved that coat check girl, Mrs. Choi's daughter. All the innocent people who died because of choices I made." "That's beautiful," she whispered. "And I'm starting a security consulting firm. Legitimate, completely legal, using everything I know to protect people instead of hurting them." His eyes were bright with something that looked like hope. "We'll work with law enforcement to track down traffickers. We'll protect witnesses in major criminal cases. We'll help families find loved ones who have disappeared. Everything I built on violence, I'm going to rebuild on protection." He pulled a small velvet box from his pocket, and Nena's breath caught. "I want to build this new life with you, not just because I love you, though I do more than anything, but because you make me better. You see the man I could be instead of the monster I was. You believe in me when I can't believe in myself." He opened the box. Inside was a ring, simple and elegant, a single diamond on a platinum band. "Marry me, Nena. Be my partner in everything. Help me become the man you already see when you look at me." Nena was crying too hard to speak. She nodded frantically, holding out her good hand. "Yes, God, yes. 1,000 times yes." He slipped the ring onto her finger, then kissed her carefully, mindfully, like she was made of glass and gold and everything precious in the world. When they broke apart, both of them were crying and laughing at the same time, drunk on joy and relief and the impossible miracle of second chances. "I love you," Liho whispered against her forehead. "I'm going to spend the rest of my life proving I'm worthy of you." "You already are. You just had to choose to be." 6 months later, Nena stood in the newly renovated lobby of the Imperial Palace Hotel, watching workers put the finishing touches on what would soon open as Seoul's premier crisis center for women in danger. The marble floors still gleamed, the crystal chandeliers still sparkled, but the atmosphere had completely changed. Where once there had been cold opulence and the smell of money and fear, now there was warmth and hope and the promise of safety. Liho came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist, his hands resting on her stomach where their daughter was growing. 5 months along and already making her presence known with strong, insistent kicks that felt like tiny miracles. "What are you thinking about?" he asked, his voice warm against her ear. "How much can change in 6 months?" She leaned back against him, savoring his warmth and solidity. "How different everything is now, how different we are." Their security consulting firm was thriving beyond their wildest expectations. They'd helped reunite 12 families torn apart by trafficking. They'd protected 7 witnesses in major criminal cases, all of whom had testified successfully, and were now living under new identities in safe locations. They'd even worked with Interpol to dismantle 2 international drug rings, using Liho's knowledge of criminal operations to predict movements and intercept shipments. Liho's old organization had dissolved peacefully over the 3 months Detective Park had given him. His former associates had either gone legitimate or retired quietly to the countryside. The violence had ended. The cycle had broken. And every night, Liho came home to Nena, no longer haunted by ghosts, no longer drowning in guilt, just a man trying to be better than he was yesterday. The nightmares had stopped too. He no longer woke up shouting Yuna's name, reliving her death in endless replay. He slept peacefully now, one hand always resting on Nena's growing belly, feeling their daughter move beneath his palm, marveling at this new life they'd created together. "Your parents called this morning," Liho said. "They're flying in next week for the wedding. Your mom wants to know if we need help with anything." Nena smiled. Her family reconciliation had been one of the most painful and beautiful experiences of her life. Her parents had shown up at the hospital 2 months ago, unexpected and terrified, her father's hands shaking as he'd confessed everything he'd been hiding. He'd been involved with low-level organized crime in Chicago for years, nothing major but enough to accumulate serious debts to people who didn't forget and didn't forgive. When he couldn't pay, when the interest kept mounting, and the threats started coming, the organization had arranged her engagement to Marcus as payment. Her father's criminal connections and debts would be absorbed into Marcus's family business through the marriage, and everyone would profit. When Nena had exposed Marcus publicly, when she'd humiliated him and destroyed the wedding, she'd unknowingly blown up a carefully orchestrated criminal alliance. Her family had been terrified of retribution. That's why they'd gone silent. They hadn't abandoned her out of shame or anger. They'd pushed her away to protect her, to make sure the organization wouldn't use her to get revenge on her father. But Liho had taken care of everything. He'd used his connections, his reputation, his carefully cultivated relationships with organizations across the world to clear her father's debts completely. He'd made it known that Nena and her family were under his protection, and that anyone who touched them would answer to him. He'd given them the fresh start they desperately needed, asking for nothing in return except that they love and support Nena. Now her parents called every week, excited about becoming grandparents, grateful beyond words that their daughter had found a man who would move heaven and earth for her. Even her relationship with her sister had healed. Nena had flown back to Chicago for her sister's wedding, standing as maid of honor, finally forgiving herself for the pain she'd caused. "I can't believe we're getting married next week," Nena said, turning in Liho's arms to face him. "Small ceremony, just family and close friends, on the rooftop of this hotel where everything started." "Are you nervous?" he asked, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "Terrified, happy, excited, grateful, all of it at once," she laughed. "Is it normal to feel everything simultaneously?" "With you, everything is normal. Everything is right." He smiled, and it transformed his entire face. The hardness that had defined him for so long was completely gone, replaced by genuine warmth and peace and something that looked like contentment. "I love you," Nena said. "Both of us do." She placed his hand over their daughter, and they felt her kick in response, like she was saying hello. "I love you too, both of you, more than I ever thought possible." Liho kissed her forehead, her nose, her lips. "Thank you for saving me, for seeing something in me worth saving. Thank you for letting me." They stood together in the place where their story had begun, where Nena had stumbled into the wrong room and found exactly the right person. The hotel that had witnessed so much pain and death was being reborn as a sanctuary. And two people who'd been shattered by their pasts were building a beautiful future together, one choice at a time, one day at a time, choosing love over fear, mercy over revenge, healing over hurt. As the sun set over Seoul, painting the sky in shades of gold and rose and purple, they walked out of the hotel hand in hand, ready to face whatever came next. Tomorrow they would continue their work, helping others find the safety and hope they'd found in each other. Next week they would get married, promising forever in front of everyone who mattered. In 4 months, their daughter would be born, another chance at life and love and family. But right now, in this perfect moment suspended between past and future, they were simply two people who'd found each other in the darkness and chosen to walk toward the light together. Two people who proved that redemption was possible, that love could heal the deepest wounds, that mercy was stronger than revenge, and that second chances were real if you were brave enough to take them. The knife had been at her throat when Nena first walked into that wrong room, but she'd walked out with her heart whole, her soul healed, and the love of a man who would spend the rest of his life proving he was worthy of her. And in the end, that was the only story that mattered. Not the violence they'd survived or the pain they'd endured, but the love they'd chosen and the life they'd built from ashes. They had won, not through violence or revenge, but through something far more powerful. They had won through love, through mercy, through the simple, profound choice to be better than their worst moments. And that victory, hard-earned and beautiful and true, would last them a lifetime and beyond. If this story touched your heart, if you believe in second chances and the power of love to transform even the darkest souls, then subscribe to Afro-Korean World right now. Hit that subscribe button and join a community that believes broken people can heal, that love conquers hate, and that everyone deserves a chance at redemption. Share this story with someone who needs to hear that it's never too late to change, never too late to choose mercy over revenge, never too late to become who you were always meant to be. Thank you for being here. Thank you for believing. And remember, your story isn't over either. Subscribe now, and let's keep proving together that love always wins.